Good morning, everyone. You have to excuse us. I think we're just like a minute or two late, but I see everyone's coming in. Good morning, good morning. Good morning to you, Lori. We're going to pretend we don't
Hello.
see our special guest there for right
Yeah, we
now.
don't see our special guest. Our special guest is secretive. You just have a camera behind the back door. Like you would see those certain things and you would have the camera and people say you can't see anybody. There you go. She's hiding.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, and I don't know if I can do this. Remember, I have this whole issue with the balloons
Oh,
coming up.
yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
thanks to those with advice, I come to the conclusion this is a Mac thing. It's like on FaceTime and stuff. So one of my people who told me, okay, this is a Mac thing, Lori. You just got to be conscious with your hands. I will see if I can pull it off. They showed me another trick. Let's see if I can make it happen. It rains. Okay, so I know. So now instead of being worried about the balloons, and this is going to come back to what you're saying. You ready, guys? Okay, let's see if I can pull it off. Here we go. This is my demonstration. So you must get comfortable with your numbers so you know your financials so you can eliminate those rainy days and you can then wait. I'm working with it, man. I'm working with it, right? Okay, with that, guys, enough craziness from Lori. Let's pass it to Lauren. Let's let this get serious now. Lauren, I have no more other words for right now. I'm sending it off to you.
I was trying to quickly get like the screens together so that we could get started, but you definitely stumped me. I love it, Lori. Love it, love it. Good morning, everyone. Oh, and Lori, if you take a look at the chat, you'll see that who was that? Christine loved it too, as well as Brenda. All right, sorry, let me collect myself. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Simpson. I am with the SBDC, or the Small Business Development Center. We are a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country, and we offer no-cost services to local small businesses. Now, our services are at no cost to you because your tax dollars are taking care of all of our fees. Oh, come on, technology. There we go. So if you take a look at the screen in front of you, you will see our service areas, excuse me. So we service the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. And on the map in front of you, you'll see that we have physical locations in Camarillo, Santa Clarita, Pasadena, Laverne, throughout Los Angeles, the South Bay, down into Long Beach. Now, I mentioned those tax dollars being at work. So because of that, we are able to offer no-cost services like business advising as well as virtual trainings. Now, when it comes to the business advising, you are able to sit one-on-one with one of our business experts. And we have experts in various arenas from marketing to communications to if you are looking to just start and create a business plan. If you are a tenured entrepreneur and you're looking to get your numbers in order, actually, if you're at the beginning of your journey or in the middle of it, or even at the end, you want to make sure those numbers are good. We have a group of members, Miss Lori Williams, who can get you straight. When I tell you, I typically am terrified of numbers, but Lori has a way of breaking down the information and making sure that her clients understand what the heck is going on and what they need to do. We also offer virtual trainings. Now, those trainings are going to be comprehensive workshops that assist you in beginning your business, adapting, and growing. Last step, get in contact with us. So be sure to reach out to 866-588-7232, or if you'd rather, online, smallbizla.org/new client. Now, if you are tuning in and you are outside of our service area, that means outside of the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, or Ventura counties, please be sure to go to americassbdc.org/find your SBDC. Really quickly, Lori, before I hand it over, I am going to go ahead and make sure I direct everyone to the chat for useful links as well as information that Lori is sharing, as well as information related to our very special guest today. And then, Lori, we want to make sure all questions are in the Q&A. Again, questions in the Q&A. The chat will be reserved for the party. Those of you who are frequent flyers know all about that party. It's where we share information as well as our good mornings, as well as feedback related to the content that's being shared. So without further ado, Lori, it's on you.
Thank you, Lauren. And may I say, it is so good to hear your voice clear.
Oh,
So happy to have Lauren feeling better. I have to make that comment.
thank
So,
you.
guys, I'm just going to go over a few things this morning. Once again, I got my usual webinars. Want to do a shout out to the legal structure and tax advantages. I have decided until I change it, I'm going to hold this on a monthly basis. I'm getting too many things said to me, like I opened an LLC so I can have tax advantages over a sole prop. Guys, there is none if you want a preview to this. I think I should be an S Corp, but not really understanding what that entails. So I continue to hold these webinar. I go through the S Corp, taxed as an S Corp, LLC, and sole prop. And I come at it from several different perspectives, from what legal structure should I be, what tax advantage, what rules and regulations do I need to consider. So even if you're already in business and have chosen a structure, there's always something you can learn. But I'm going to hold that for a while because I just keep hearing things said that are actually not correct. And I want to make sure everybody's got correct information. Financial literacy session 2 and 3 is coming up. If you missed one, no problem. You can jump on 2 and 3. I'm repeating that every month. Got usually a full load of people during this session. And it's great because after they go through this, sometimes I work one-on-one. And what I had, somebody just yesterday, we had one of our follow-up appointments where I went through the data and helped them to analyze their data to understand their profitability. And I knew we were achieved because it always gets to this point where I go, well, how are you doing today? And the words were, my eyes are now open. That was words to my heart. I know we succeeded because I know from this point on, this entrepreneur, as well as the other ones that I've worked with, are going to make better decisions because they understand the financials in their company. Okay, upcoming shows. Next week, we've got Sharon Beck from Project Today. I think she's going to correct me on how to say the name of her company. But Sharon is a consultant, and her company is a technology management consulting type firm. And I'm real excited to have Sharon on and have a discussion because I really don't think I've had a consultant on the show, which is really the service-based model. And this is a little bit different than the product model. Once again, they still follow the same rules and, different aspects as far as profitability, but it is a different business model to manage. And I think it's going to be really interesting to hear this story, which is going to be unique to things we hear from the different individuals that come on the show that have more of a product. And then, guys, if you've been with us, a frequent flyer, everybody loved Leo and Chris, right? Chris from Ritual ACI, I'm going to say it wrong now, ACI is coming back on. We're going to pick up where we left off and also talk about the opening of the new store. So everybody, I think out of all our guests, which everybody loves our guests, but there was an overwhelming response to this dual pair. So I'm excited to have them back on the show. I'm going to be announcing this every single week because it's so important. And I'll do it for a while until people are fully aware of it. Starting this year, January 1st, 2024, there is a new report that is required. This report is called Beneficial Ownership Information. It's abbreviated BOI. The report is required through FinCEN, which is a bureau of the U.S. Department of the Treasury. If you even were aware of FinCEN before, you might have known because they handle money laundering. And if you have a cash transaction of, I think it's 10,000, you have to fill out a form through them. Otherwise, most of you will have never heard of them before, right? So this is a brand new on a federal level reporting requirement. Now, sole props, you can put a hand over your ears. You don't need to be aware of this. Sole props are not affected by this new report. It is those that are in a corporation, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, nonprofit, et cetera, right? And if you were incorporated prior to this year, you got a whole nother year before you fill it out. If you get incorporated this year, you have 90 days. Next year, you're only going to have 30. It's a $500 a day fine up to 10,000 and some jail time. So it's something to really be aware of. And when you go online to fill it out, you have to upload information like a state issued ID, a passport, foreign passport, etc. So Lauren's going to put the link in the chat. If you have any questions, send it to Lauren. She'll make sure it gets to me. But this is really just a continuous alert that I'm doing because a lot of people are not familiar with this and I want to make them aware of it. Okay, today's words of wisdom is kind of also going to blend into our discussion today. And so I've got this cute little picture of an old-fashioned mom and pop. And what I'm wanting to begin to say today as we go into our discussion, from yesterday's mom and pop stores to today's entrepreneur, basic fundamentals have not changed. Now, what I mean by that is that the main fundamental, a mathematical equation where you take in more money than you spend, you have profit, you can pay bills, you can meet your desires, and you can have money to invest and grow the company. That has not changed. However, now that we have the word entrepreneur and entrepreneurship, which has been picked up a lot by what I like to say Hollywood, the belief that these fundamentals are the top priority has kind of gone to the wayside. You hear words like, just follow your passion and what's the demand and all these other things that are true. But at the end of the day, if the fundamentals don't add up, we don't have a business. You also have a lot of myths, such as, well, it takes a while to be profitable. If you're a consultant or a web designer and you're not profitable pretty quickly, you got a problem. So at the end of the day, really, when you look back at the mom and pop stores, especially from my perspective, having grown up in the country and around mom and pops, which I didn't think anything was special, people just had their own company. They grew one sale at a time. They made their money one sale at a time. They fully understood how much they were selling things for and how much they had left over to pay expenses. And that's where I am urging people to focus and get back to the fundamentals of what makes a company succeed, what allows a company to grow, and that is knowing the numbers and having an understanding of the core essence of your business model. So with that, before I introduce a guest, I see a quick question. Yes, nonprofits are also required to file this form. So I just wanted to go ahead and answer that real quick that I saw that in there. I'm real excited about having today's guest that's hiding in the background there. She's going to come into the picture. Randi Cagnolatti, I think I said it right. She's going to correct me, is an entrepreneurial cosmetologist and a beauty supply owner of Unique Textures Beauty Supply in Los Angeles. Now, what I love about Randi is she has a no-nonsense approach to entrepreneurism. This scale perspective has allowed her to make good decisions in her company. Staying away from the hype of the time, Randi has made practical common sense decisions for growing her company and maintaining a lifestyle that she enjoys. So today, welcome Randi to share some of the wisdom, some of the mistakes, some of the great things you did, but just an overall understanding of your perspective on your company, life, and entrepreneurism. Welcome, Randi.
Hey, hey, how are you?
And we have to say a frequent flyer too. You're used to seeing Randi in the party, but here's Randi live.
So you're used to seeing, everybody's used to seeing me as PC in the party because I don't know why, but whatever, I'm still there. And I usually have to say it's me, Randi, because I forget that it says PC. So I'm always in it.
That's
Yes.
your alias. That's your alias. So
Work for
Randi,
me.
to those that always see you in the chat and don't really have a background of where you started, how you started, take us back to your early days. When did you start the company? What caused you to start the company? Where were you before? Did you, at age 10, say, I think I'm going to be a business owner?
No. Well, excuse me. Okay, so I'll try to sum it up in 1 minute because it's been most of my life. So very early on, I have a little sister. I used to do her hair and I did my hair. And so that was just what a part of my life was, what I combed hair. And so then in high school, people liked my hair. And so we would ditch a class, maybe fifth or sixth period. And then I would go make 10 or 15, $20, depending on what it was. I would go make that money in the locker room. And so I started that kind of little hustle. So then I would have my clients come home after school and I would have a little beauty shop in the living room, whatever. It got on my mom's nerves, but whatever, I did it. And that was my hustle. And also too, but I always had like a little part-time job. If somebody was saying, they had a couple of hours somewhere, or somebody knew somebody was hiring at a smoothie shop, I enjoyed working. So that has always been just me growing up, is just being a little hustler. If we're not going to use the word entrepreneur, because that wasn't the word, you just
Right.
did what
It
you did.
wasn't. Yeah, you're right. Side hustles. That's what we used to call it all the time. Yeah.
So then, just to say, I really didn't feel like going to a traditional college. I didn't have the strength, but I had the hustle and the skill. So I looked into cosmetology school and this and that, and I found the one that was best for me. The first one I got kicked out of because I was hustling, doing hair outside of the cosmetology school, and you're not supposed to, whatever, who cares? So I got kicked out of that one. And I went to a local community college, and not even a community college. It was like a ROP or something. I don't know. And it was free. Like the first one, I had a tuition and everything, but I found this one and it was free. I mean, you had to pay for certain things, but generally it was free. And I had the best instructors. Like I had an old school instructor named Miss Freeberg, and like we were finger waving and doing all kind of stuff all up and down. Okay, so I was able to pass boards on the first time, and I was still hustling. But I noticed that the hustle wasn't allowing me to pay for growth, as you talk about.
Yep.
So I still had odd jobs and stuff like that. So then I thought, oh, it'll be good to work at I worked at Regis in the mall. And so that allowed me to have a 9 to 5 and still have my hustle. Because I say that because I still did people who I knew before the salon on the side, because I didn't want them to get that money because it was my money first. So I did that, and I moved from being on commission to building up to being on booth rent. And so from there, I had a great owner. The first owner that I worked in a salon, he was to the book. He was business. He was old school, old Italian guy. Actually, I'll tell you a quick little funny story, because you had skipped over my last name. Yes, there's Italian background in my last name, Cagnolatti. And so the friend that that referred me to him and him to me, I told him, don't tell him what I look like. Just tell him my last name. And so, of course, he didn't think I was coming up the street. And so I looked at him, and his last name is Russo, so Italian. And so I said, hey, Pazza, cousin. And so we had a very open relationship, but he was very, very business oriented, and I learned a lot from him. Something that my mom carries and shows as an example is being diligent with just your bill process and your payments and stuff like that. He was just like that. And so from there, I ended up going somewhere else because just business. And that's just, I've always been in a hair salon and booth rent hair salon. So I had to hustle. That's different from commission, because with commission, sometimes you get a base pay. No. You have to hustle. And so within that, you still have your brick and mortar per se, even your book, your chair that you pay for weekly, monthly, however the deal is. And then you still have your home. So you have to make enough to pay for that weekly, because they're not playing with you, and home weekly because of business. I mean, a home, or you can live in a car or wherever, it doesn't matter, but just however you do it.
You know
And
what I
so,
think is interesting, Randy, and I'm going to go in a whole different direction. You know what? I just got this huge curiosity. So I know just enough about your mom to already know she's darling, right? I just know that from the conversation.
thank you.
But
Yeah.
you have this obviously wonderful, vivacious personality, but you also have a very strong connection between here's where I need to go, and here are these steps, and I'm just going to take them without getting so caught up in it. You know, you're not somebody that's going to sit down and write a 20-page business plan and never do it, but you're still somebody that's very knowing where you want to go. Where did your parents, were your upbringing, what made Randi Randi? Because I don't see it in a lot of people.
You know, I ask myself that every day. And people ask me that. No, what you're asking is quite funny because people ask me that all the time. And I'm like, I
Okay.
don't know. You know what I mean? Yes, I've been vivacious. I used to wave at everybody as a child. My mom told me that, hey, everybody. But then also, too, I'm very stern and firm and direct.
You are.
So,
Yes.
but, and with that, yes, there's a certain just, you know, I don't know, but I know this is what it is. And so moving this out of the way or trying to quiet the noise, because there's a lot of noise into that, you just have to hear that, take it for either a gain or a loss or a aha or whatever, not as deeply emotional as, yes, I do see that the mass majority of us tend to do sometimes. Is just it, we dwell on what it could or couldn't be and how to get there and da 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 da. By that time, you're over and you're exhausted and it's time for a nap. So, you know, using all of that energy and putting it towards one step at a time is just, I don't know. It just, I guess it just, it's in the blood, it's in the DNA. You know
Yeah.
what? Let me tell you this. I will say, learning about my family before my parents, like my grandparents, on both sides, my family migrated. One side from Arkansas, one side from New Orleans, Louisiana, such.
Okay.
And what I have learned is all those people who migrated, a lot of them had businesses, whether it was a restaurant or this or that. They migrated, and before that, they had farms. You know, their parents had a farm, or you know. So I'm learning this as I, you know, ask questions, or we have reunions, or you know, you're interested. Sometimes you don't know anything or you can't know anything because you're not interested. But I have learned that it's kind of stuck in between some of the ridges, and I just got one of them.
You know, the other thing I notice about you, and I mean, we've had enough discussions where I know you've made some turns. You had to back up and say, no, let's go this way instead. So you've had those situations. But you know what, Randi, whether you don't or you hide it well, you don't get down on yourself. You just gather the data and you go, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to go about it? And that is a level of internal confidence and lack of self-criticism, and the opposite of that, lack of confidence and internal criticism, harms so many entrepreneurs. And I don't see you demonstrating those common skills. You seem to be, okay, yep, that wasn't right. Let me go that. I'm going to change this and I'm going to do this. What do I need to do? And that is beautiful. And I know it's inherent in you, Randi, and it's so hard to give advice on those things that are inherent. But any words that you can share on how you overcome that critiquing, especially when you try something and it doesn't work in business?
Well, it's kind of like cooking. If you find something in a recipe or one of the shows and you make it for the first time, is it really good? I mean, for some people, it is. I mean, some people you're like, okay, that is your calling. Um, but most of the time, it's not. You have to go in and say, you know what, I need a little bit more basil, or you know, I should have used cornmeal instead of the flour. I don't know, but you start to break it down, and sometimes you get to a point where you're like, you know what, this isn't feasible. We're not going to do this. It doesn't make sense. Like I can't explain it to myself. So I tell people that if you can't explain it to yourself, not that you can answer all the questions, but if you can't explain it to yourself and make it make sense, then delivering it, you're going to get this pushback or what have you. And that's going to be what holds you down, because now when you delivered something that is maybe even just premature, then you're hoping that everybody thinks it's a great idea or this or that. And then when it's delivered and you haven't thought about certain things, or people are starting to put certain things in your head, you either take those things and you move with it because I didn't even think about that. That makes That makes complete sense. Or, oh my God, they hate it and I shouldn't do it and it's too much. And so which way?
Yeah, you know
You
what? I
have to
love what
figure
you
out
just
that for
said.
yourself.
Yeah, I love how you just said it's got to make sense to yourself, because you know what, Randy, I have where I have people that, they hear what other people are saying, and then I'm on this call with them and they're telling me, and I say, hold on, and I repeat it back to them slowly just so they can hear it themselves. And then they realize it doesn't make sense. But they never asked if it made sense to themselves. They just took the other person's word verbatim.
And that's what I think too, that I hear you saying when you keep repeating about uh, 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 business entity. Come on now, give it to me. LLC.
And it's
uh,
so, and that's
yeah,
for
the business entity. I think that people are hearing bits of information and it sounds good, so they try to make it make sense.
Mhm.
But then I'm like, well, listen.
Yeah.
And like you said, repeating it back. There's an article that says that when you're arguing with people, sometimes you have to repeat back what you heard or what you think you heard to make sure you should or shouldn't be offended. So that is the same thing. I think that you should, yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
spit it out. Say it. Would you do it if somebody said this to you? Would you do it? So then that gives you the opportunity to use again all the doubt, the energy of doubt, and now you have a source. Now I have something to look for. Now I have a little homework to do.
Yeah. 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 Because, so many times I have this conversation with people that are in the middle of their numbers, and I go, so you're telling me that if you do more of the same, you're going to make more money, but your costs are going to just be multiplied. How does that work? And that's the first time that they actually stop. And I've said to people before, you are very smart. You're not lacking intelligence. You're not listening to yourself. You're missing out on what you're hearing. So that's fascinating. Lauren, we got to capture that. If it doesn't make sense to yourself, you got to start looking at it differently. That's a great one. So Randy, now in addition to the hair cutting, you also have unique beauty textiles. So you at one point progressed into having a store and having it lined with products. That's a big jump from being the side hustle going on, even when it was a booth. So how did you make that jump? What decided? All the facts about that jump. Tell us about it.
Well, it was actually for something else.
Okay.
And I'll tell you a quick little story about when, I don't know, I was probably 10 and my sister was 5. During the summertime, I would get dressed in my mom's high heels and I would put on my church clothes and I would play store. And my sister was my employee and we would just have store and I would have my little notepad. I don't know what I was writing, but I thought I was important. And so I think about that now and I'm like, how interesting. But so anyway, no, I actually I got involved with the SBA because of another endeavor, which it's again, you get to a certain point and you're like, huh, I need to do some homework. And you don't throw it away, you put it aside and you keep doing that homework in between whatever you have going on.
Right.
So that is still in the works. We'll talk about that another day. I don't want to scare you. We'll do it later. So anyway, so with that being said, how I found out about the SBA is because I involved myself working wise into an entity of which I want to go into. And I was speaking with someone and sharing what I was doing. And this individual referred me to the SBA. So I started taking some of the workshops and different things like that getting immersed in the SBA. Then the pandemic hit. And within that time of being able to think, reflect, and use my energy effectively, I was thinking about where I stopped within the program with the SBA and what I needed to understand or grow to or get. So with that, I was like, oh, if I open a beauty supply store, which another colleague of mine had one through his family for over 26 years, and he took it over. And so I was just kind of looking into it. Lori, let me tell you, you would hate his books, okay? Because he had none, just so that. But anyway, I got a piece of that and I was like, I can do this. And this will allow me to have an idea of what a business looks like on paper to answer some of the questions of the other endeavor that I was working on and am working on. So I wanted to understand business, which I didn't. I just had the drive to or for or the desire, but I didn't understand it and I didn't know what it looked like. So that's where the store came in. And so I worked on that during the time of the pandemic. And then I found you being very boisterous and letting people know that they didn't know what they were talking about, which was fantastic because they didn't, and we got through it.
Yeah.
And so from there, that's how I was able to get to all the way to here.
Oh, so your store, and I did know that. Now that I'm going back, your store is relatively new. Now, when you decided to have, so you already had the retail place that you were cutting hair in, right? So was it bringing products into that, or did you have to find a new location for this?
New location. So
Okay.
yes, because now, so during the pandemic, I couldn't, sorry, that was an ad. During the pandemic, I couldn't be in the salon. You remember that was, everything was shut down. And that was one of the entrepreneurial endeavors that was kind of like, what do I do? So remember that young hustler that I was telling you about?
She went hustling.
She went hustling. And so I did that during the pandemic. That's okay now, nobody cares. But I had to do what I had to do. So I did house calls and different things like that. And so then I went back to the salon, but very part-time.
Okay.
Because I wanted to take my time. I wanted to open this store. And because again, my homework of learning how to run a business, I know hair, I know product. I have to, with clients, sometimes pick up product or sell them product from what I would recommend. So I'm already doing this. Why not try to do this in a broader, expand a little bit broader? Yep. And also too, because in my community, it is a stigma that we do not own or have our own beauty supply stores because of how much we invest in the beauty business. And so I also too wanted to see if that was really true or what were the obstacles or what have you. So there was a few things there.
Interesting. So in many ways, if you look at the cutting hair, even though you had a salon, it was still a service-based business. And then you went into the beauty, which is more of a product base. So you really, even though you had the experience being in business, it took on a whole nother animal, if you will, a whole nother set of skills, a whole nother set of surprises and challenges. And Randi, I can see you're already talking about. So this is a good thing for our audience who looks at the service versus product and what it means when you jump in that side of the fence. Let's talk about it. What is the first thing that you encountered that was almost like oh, I got to get around this, or a roadblock, or I didn't know about it? What was the first challenges as you started to move towards more of this product-based company?
Well, I just started to notice my money was funny. So, again, as a hustler,
my money was funny.
Sometimes people look at it and it's like, well, how you are so unorthodox or whatever. But then when it comes down to it, it's like, oh, you made it come together. Yeah, I know what I got. Maybe I don't want you to know what I have, or maybe whatever. But I noticed that something wasn't adding up. And I was like, now look, we have to look, what is not adding up and where is it coming from and why am I not seeing? Because again, in the idea of entrepreneurship or opening up a store, you have money. It just makes money. Oh, you make this amount of money. Oh, yeah. It's always you have money, money, money. Well, no, someone right. My money was funny. So that's when I contacted you. That's when I was like, okay, I've done everything that I think that Lori has said to do with the widgets and the inventory and and this and that. And my money is funny and it ain't looking cute. So what?
So I can back up a second with the money funny, and I'm going to say what I think you're saying to clarify, and you tell me. So when you were doing the hair cutting and it was a service, it was really easy to follow the money trail. You had a haircut, it cost a certain amount, you did the activity, and then that money came directly to you. So it was kind of a really easy path of discovery. But now I buy a product at a certain price, I sell it it at a certain price, and I got all these SKUs. They somehow mysteriously add together, and then that money has to cover all the expenses. So you didn't have that exact, clear, easy to see pathway between your receiving the money and how much you are holding on. Would that be correct?
Completely correct. And plus, too, as being just in the salon, just as the chair, just being in the chair, I didn't have all these other overhead expenses. You
Right.
have, I'm cash and carry, okay? Look,
Right.
all this Zelle and stuff like that, it gets on my clients' nerves that I act stupid. Like, what? Who? What? No, me no speak English. I act stupid because cash and carry. But it works too because you don't always have this cash and you see your money grow. But
Right.
what I'll say is, you have POS systems, you have all these other things that you think, oh, it's great, you're supposed to have this, and oh my God, and da 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 da, another phone line. But then once you add it all up, well, that money was going to me.
Yes.
So just think.
This is the ding, ding, ding moment that I want the audience to hear. This is the ding, ding, ding moment, because this is why I say, and you guys may have heard me say, there's no such thing as a small company anymore. Because when you were cutting the hair, you could keep your hands on all the activities.
It was to
But
me.
most of you guys have some kind of product, and then you're buying it, you're selling it, you got the expenses, and you're hoping that they're all falling into place. And that's where it gets complicated. Okay, gotcha. I got you. Yeah, I can see it now. All of a sudden, in many ways, Randi, although you're still doing the hustling by doing a lot of work, when you get into that more complexity, when you're purchasing or manufacturing and you're selling a widget, it's not the simple hustle anymore where you go
Yeah.
out, you get a cash, you got it in your hand at the end of the day, you put it in your pocket, it's there. Suddenly it ends up there or not, and all these things are spinning around and you don't know how it got there or did not get there. So really, all of a sudden, Randi is almost a fish out of the water with what you knew your entire existence. Am I putting words in your mouth, or would I be okay on what I just said?
No, absolutely. Because, like, just to say, I worked in the Regis salon, which was a salon and they sold product. So yes, we got a commission on the amount of product that we sold and stuff like that. But I never got to see the behind.
Yeah,
I
you never had
saw
to
them.
buy it and then pay the
So no,
manufacturer.
I don't know that whether they were making money, losing money. Coming on and getting involved with my new family.
Yeah.
Now I understand when we're talking about even looking on the news or NASDAQ or whatever, I now have a better understanding about where a business stands when they're losing money, or this quarter or that quarter. We just see a business and we're like, they have the money, we can steal from them, we can do this, we can do that. They have the money. No, they don't.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. And this brings us to a beautiful beginning. And this, I didn't think we were going to go here, but this is just falling in play. So then get this call from Randi saying, hey, I need your help. And we get a ton of SKUs in a spreadsheet, don't we? I say, Randi, you have got to give me the data. And all of a sudden, we're looking at a ton of SKUs. Talk from there, Randi, because we are on such a great, wonderful experience for the audience to hear. Whatever portion of what did you learn as we went through the SKUs and what became apparent of why your money was funny. I love that. My money was funny. Why was your money funny, Randi? We figured out why your money was funny. Why?
Well, because first we broke it down. Well, so first, I'll just say, and I'm gonna tell everybody this out here who is listening, Lori is no nonsense. Okay, I thought I was no nonsense, but when you are no nonsense and you really know what you're talking about, it's different. So Lori was a little apprehensive on to who she was going to talk to and who she was about to deal with, but when she saw that I actually was doing the work.
Yeah.
I wasn't coming on a dream or a hope, or this is what I feel and this is what I hope it to be, and these are my projections. I didn't come with that.
No.
I came with, I don't know if I have it, but please. Okay. And I would just, well, send me what you got, with a little cigarette.
I did. I always say that. Send me what you got. I don't care. Just send me what you got. You're right, Randi. I always say that.
You know my name, what have you. But she was able to, she saw that I did the homework. At least I was doing something that she was talking about over and over again. Lori, usually you say nothing new. You say it over again in a different way because somebody emotionally heard it how they didn't want to hear it. So you got to say it another way. So you saw that I had heard you. It just was a little fussy, I'll say. And you took that and you thought, oh, I got something to work with. Yep. And we started to work with these things. And when we worked with them, you separated everything. So we separated money out. We separated the profit of the products. We separated all these things so I could see who was what and what was what, even what products that shouldn't be sold because it just cost me too much.
And I stored everything because you had data. You had data. She had, guys, I think you had way over 1,000 some SKUs. There was pages after pages. And what I did, guys, what she's saying is I took out each product. I took the sell, the cost, the gross profit. I looked at it by the distributor and I then made it all in a line. And then I made a line and said, Randi, everything you're selling below here, you're losing money. You should take the day off and go to the beach instead.
Exactly. And I did try to have everybody, let me tell you, I did try to have the little lines and the math. And she was like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's this. She said, oh, okay. And so then once it was lined up, I even saw where I don't know how to do no percent. So just to say that, I thought I knew what I was mathing up, but I wasn't. So that was also too, my math was wrong. Not because I didn't have an idea of what it was supposed to be, because I just didn't know the math and I didn't know how to equate it. I guess that's what you can say. So if I put it all together, then it really doesn't work out. But I still knew my money was not adding up. So when we were able to separate, like you said, these products, look, go to the beach. This is what we have coming out all the time, every time. This is what you have all together. So we had what, about 4 different tabs of the same business, but 4 different tabs of breaking it down. And then we did a couple of calculations. You were like, there it is. And I was like, see, that's what I thought it was, but I didn't know where it was.
And that is so true. You know, I love that point because, Randi, what I find is most entrepreneurs, they have a feeling something's wrong, but they can't figure out, and you can't figure this out in your head. And so the basic long story short is you had not a lot, but probably you had maybe 20% of your products you were selling at too small of a amount and it was dragging you down. So every time you'd make this higher profit margin that you needed, these were coming along and just dragging you down and you didn't even know it. It's like you're running down in the road and you've got these weighted balls on your feet and you don't even know it. And all I have to do is come there and just clip them off and suddenly you're like, zoom. But that's the difference between a service-based business where you can see the money coming in from your hands and there's no expenses in between to a product-based business and you've got too many moving parts. You have to analyze it. And most people think they're making money on all the products and they may not be.
Well, because it looks like it at first. But again, like I said, as unorthodox as I may seem to be, I know where my money's at. And I'm like, nah, Isn't that
when
something?
It comes that money in the pocket when it's, well, you know, you hear me say all the time, can you buy a quart of milk with that? I say that all the time.
And it was turning into the little, like the little bitty milk, the little pint. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Wait. So again, but this is what I wanted to and I needed to know, because if I want to grow to where I would like to grow, to not have to be where I would like to grow is to not have to be the dependency of the business. So right now I'm the dependency of the business. If I don't do hair, we can't do this. And even though I'm having a great response from the community, they're supporting. I will say though, with it being dependent upon me and where we are with the new laws of AB5 and stuff like that, I can't afford to hire somebody. So a lot of times people are like, oh, good, you're finally here. And I'm like, dang, I went out for a walk. I can't just sit here. I'm losing my mind. But I have to be here. I have to cut, style hair. I have to still hustle. to make it come about. And that's not what I want for my future. So in order to grow to not be that, I have to see that here and I feel like, and have that understanding here. So as I grow and try to have something larger, so I'm not the dependent person, there is a staff, then I know how that looks and I know how to grow, sustain, or cut my losses.
You know, you just brought up another beautiful point that I make all the time, Randy, is a lot of times people think because I'm so busy, that means I need to hire, but they may be so busy and can't afford to hire because once again, they're busy doing things that are not profitable. When you focus on just that profit margin, then you have the money to hire and the money to reinvest and understanding when that is and how that is. Because a lot of times what I say, and entrepreneurs get this when I say it, so many people, their employees make more money than they do.
Yes, yes. And something that I'm involved in now, I'm getting on some of the staff's nerves because I'm seeing that with this business and I'm saying that and I'm like, huh, how interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm able to see this outside of now me, just only because I'm here. If I wasn't here, I still wouldn't be able to see certain things that you share and say, and how businesses don't work, aren't able to grow, or they have to cut their losses. And me being in this position, I see that. And it's quite interesting. It's like, oh, wow.
No,
Oh, wow.
it really, as we're talking, Randy, I got to tell you that what comes to my mind right now is, although you know you've had the little challenges, I see you adding the product line as what a beautiful experience in your life journey, because really you kind of had it down from your high school hustle to this. You knew what you were doing. You had it down.
No,
You
I
had it
didn't.
under control, and then
No,
you went
I
into a
didn't. I
store and
really
it's
didn't.
like, bam. You
No,
have to really learn a lot during this process. This has been a great learning experience.
I didn't know what I was doing. I'm going to tell you that. I never know what I'm doing. I just know sometimes what the instinct feels like a wolf, you know. Well, no, I'm a lion. So like a lion, you know, I didn't know. I didn't know that I wanted to be a hairdresser. If I had it in my dream world, I would have been a lawyer. Oh, yes, I would have been a lawyer. But that program, let me tell you, strenuous. I wasn't ready for that. So I was just able to take something that I already knew. You know what I mean? Like, I'm already doing this. I'm already making money. I'm comfortable. That's what it was. I was comfortable within weaving in and out of this
Yeah.
business. So with with the business, I was an educator for design essentials. I did do some industry work. I loved high fashion. So I was able to maneuver just because I had a skill. So just like even with trades, I always, in conversations with my clients and their children, or they're talking or whatever, I always encourage a trade sometimes because that gives you something to do. So again, if I didn't have the skill or the trade to do hair, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would be talking about how we had to dissolve, just like we had to dissolve the S Corp. I'll tell you guys that real quick.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Randy.
we would have to dissolve this business and we'd be talking about, y'all, I couldn't do it with a little tear in my eye. But the trade allows me to hold on tight, like I'm in a tornado, you know, holding on the palm tree. And so where I was going to about dissolving.
Oh, before you go, you know, I remembered something. Behold that thought, you know, it just came to me. I remember in one of our conversations, I said to you, Randy, you are not making enough profit on the products. You got to stay with the hair cutting. You got to get X amount. I even told you the number of hours you had to maintain hair cutting, which when you said I had to stay with the trade, I remembered that because I said, this part of your company is not going to support you. You got to mix the service with the product. And it was your trade you went back on. But I just wanted to bring that up because I totally remember that. So let's talk about the dissolving of the S Corp, because I think that's a fantastic story for you to tell as well.
Okay, so when starting the store, I have a good friend who is an accountant, and so we were talking about it, and she had suggested that I do the S Corp over the LLC. Now, I just was doing the LLC in my mind, not for tax purposes, but for protection. Okay. Well, she said, I don't think that you need to be an LLC, but being an S Corp would allow you to allow the business to pay you, pay yourself. You do the whole W-2, things like that. And I was like, well, I don't know if I really want to do all that. I don't think I need to do that. But you know better than I, because this is your world. So as I was doing it and counting my dollars, like what we were talking about, I was like, something, again, this don't make no sense. This don't
Funny
make no sense.
money.
I'm paying too much to do this. I'm paying too much to have a business that is not paying for this too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then when we were breaking everything down and I told you that I was an S Corp and you were like, really? Well, why? And so I tried to tell you why. And you were like, tap, 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 tap. And I said, well, and you said, no. Are you making about this much? And I said, girl, no, that's going to be the whole year. And you were like, well, you were like, well, then no. And I was like, well, she said, and I said, and we had an argument and da, 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 da. But all the whole time inside, my instinct told me I didn't need to do that. But I think where she was coming from, she believed in my enthusiasm and my drive that I could do this and I would gross that. So I think it was her, not in any ill will. I think it was in good faith that she was like, no, this is what you do. This is business. You are going to do this. Where I was still like,
yeah,
and it was still like,
that's beautiful. We hadn't talked about that, but I can see that because see what we're talking about, guys, is that Randi's business structure was really causing her to pay more because her profits weren't enough to benefit on the tax savings. So every year it was costing her more to be in business. And like you said, your accountant friend was actually picking a structure on a future goal, not the current financial situation. And I see so many people do that. I'm glad you said that, Randi, because I have people who say, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be taxed as an S Corp. I'm like, you don't have any money. You haven't even made profit. This makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get there. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a minute. You're going to pay taxes till you get there. Let's work with where you're at today.
Keep that pocket change. And so with that, even when I was saying it back to you, remember, does it make sense to me? Well, it wasn't making sense to me, but I didn't know how to make it make sense in a conversation. And again, taking all of your workshops, remember where I started from, the SBA starting in their workshops and seeing what and who and da, 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 da. So then I was able to do that with you. You were talking about structure. You were talking about this. So I'm like, oh, there's a source. Let me do this homework. And so then I was like, hey, Lord, I need a meeting. I don't think I should be an S Corp. And you were like, what? And so when we broke it down and I said, well, I already have protection with insurance. I'm paying for that every month.
Yep.
I already, do this. So I don't have to be. I can go back to being a sole prop and at least putting some pocket change back instead of looking like this grand structure of a businesswoman. I can put that pocket change in my pocket and have $250,000.
Yeah, exactly. Why, like I say, the LLCs is today's Hollywood Gucci bag. So you got rid of the Gucci bag and now you got money in your pocket because you got a structure correct for you. And what I always say, it doesn't mean a sole prop's good, LLC's good, and S Corp's good. It's not about that. Is what is correct with the business structure as today and the tax that makes sense for the entrepreneur and tax and finance wise. And then Randi did the homework. I said, Randi, okay, you could go backwards, but you got to start a new bank account. You got to do this. We laid it out. I said, think about it. We came back and talked about it. And then all of a sudden Randi called and said, I'm ready to do it. And she followed every step. And it's the beginning of this year. You're officially a sole prop, right? Is that when I lose track of time? I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's already been that fast. And let me tell you guys, you can procrastinate that long because it's that fast. So again, being able to be a part of something to know how to really maximize. Yes. And so in Hollywood conversations, it would have sounded great that I was a sole prop, but then because it sounds great, but people are not talking about the structure of how you're really losing money. And I think it's so flung around that you're only a business if you are an entity. And I'm like, well, I've never been an entity and I've kept up with y'all. So without an entity,
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
yeah.
what I mean? So I think we just get caught up in that emotion of proving our entity, where I like to be behind the scenes and I'd rather you think what you need to think and I know what I need to know.
And you've got money in your, I always tell people, and it's still a couple year back figure, but approximately 72% of the companies in the United States are a sole prop, guys. And like I said, I'm not saying any structure is better than another. I'm saying you need to understand why you're choosing rather than have somebody, or worse, and I see this, a TikTok video tell you you're supposed to be something. You need to understand why you are what you are.
Yes. No, for real. And again, using that energy instead of getting worked up, because we all can get worked up. I'm not saying that I don't get worked. I'm not saying that I don't get pissed. My mom knows of everybody. I will jump over a counter. But but I have to use that energy wisely. And then so
Yeah.
I had, instead of that anxiousness or that anger or that frustration, I try to look for a source. I'll take a walk and I'll see something. You know how, like in the movies, that you see a flower and then you know your destiny or whatever. That's kind of how it works.
It is how it
You
works.
know,
Yeah.
sometimes it'll enlighten you. Just a breath of fresh air. Walking down the street and being inspired, or being feared into, I don't want to do that. But taking that energy and using it wisely to open your eyes, see, smell, breathe, taste, touch. And from there, I think that your resources will just start to come to you and you can look into that.
Randy, that is so
Tap into
beautiful. And I love that, because I'm really trying to emphasize people to go back to being the human spirit that we are, and to realize that answers are around us, and be creative and be
that. Okay.
open, be excited and be passionate. And don't look at a video online to determine who and what you should be.
Or what somebody thinks you should be.
Yep.
A lot of times we're trying to be like somebody will look at you and give you a funky look and you're like, what? Well, they don't think that you're supposed to be whatever that is. I get that with joy.
Yeah.
People think I'm nuts because I am really happy. I'm excited and all that type of stuff. I have a lot of energy. I'm not saying that I don't get mad. I really do get mad, but I really do enjoy. And so sometimes people are mad that I'm in that joy, in that spirit. And so, you got to smile and wave and and just keep going and move in that, because that is not as heavy, as it's not heavy at all.
Yeah.
But what is heavy is moving in that spirit of rah, rah, rah. Nobody loves me, nobody cares. One of my favorite Disney movies, Sword in the Stone, like Madam Mim, you know what I mean? Just horrible, wholesome sunshine. You know what I mean? Enjoy the horrible, wholesome sunshine. It's lighter on your feet. Like it feels great. So
And what I love about, you say taking a walk, I always say never underestimate the advantage of getting some distance.
yeah,
I, as I told you guys before, I did a lot of really heavy CFO turnaround, right? And so I would come into these companies and I would be in them for a while. And there's this one company, it was so complicated. The numbers were so complicated. I would be sitting there with the controller, and I just felt like I couldn't breathe, and I would have to take a walk at least down the hall. And the
yeah,
minute I took the walk down the hall, I would be, that's what I need to do. I need to look at these numbers. And it got to be the point
yes,
I would get with the controller where I'd be like, have this look on my face, and she'd go, "Oh, you need to go to the bathroom, right?" And she didn't mean I had to go to the bathroom, meaning that's what I would do. I'd say, "I'm going to go to the bathroom." But what I really was doing was walking to think.
yeah,
And she just got to go, "I just got to get away to think." And, we got to remember that our human spirit has all the answers and the direction, but you
yeah,
got to let it come through sometimes. So I
yeah,
love that you said
yeah,
that, how to walk.
yeah. Well, and yes, and you noticed once you started walking, you could breathe.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Totally. Totally. Totally.
You know what I mean? You're sitting down and you can't breathe. What does
Yep.
that say? You
Yep.
know? So
Exactly.
yeah, let it all go through. And that will inspire you. That will give you the energy instead of staying in a place of worry, fear, fright. Um, because I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm excited to find out.
And
And if
and
it, I don't know.
And I can't believe it's already time up. I want to answer anonymous question really quick, and then I'm going to come back to you for your final words, Randy. Anonymous asked a good question. If you're a service-based business, isn't incorporation a necessity because of a liability? No, guys, because you have to look at, now it all depends, but you have to look at who are you being sued by and what? And a lot of times it's not the corporation that's protecting you, it's the insurance. It's
Yeah.
think about it, when you have somebody fall on your house, you got general liability, it's the insurance that's protecting you. So even people who are incorporated still carry insurance. So just because you are a service-based business or someone could potentially sue you, you have to look at the soundness of it. How often is it going to happen? What is the possibility? And before you, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be incorporated, you should. I'm not making those words. It's dependent on the situation. But what I'm saying is, before you run down the road, you got to analyze your situation and you got to think, what insurance do I need to have to protect me? Because the corporation is not going to fund your lawyer. The insurance is. Let me say it again.
Yeah.
The corporation is not going to help fund your lawyer if you're drawn through a lawsuit. The insurance policy has that in place to cover legal fees. The corporation does not. So people get incorporated, they forget the insurance, and you know, it's really
that doesn't separate you.
Yep.
And I think that people think that the corporation is going to separate them from everything. And I'm like, no. The corporation is just for protection. It's protecting you in certain areas, but not if somebody slips and falls. If you're going to feed somebody, I think that there's a different protection. But for me, if I burn your head off, I still have my insurance, my $1 million policy, whatever it is, my liability policy. That is what would go into effect, just like a car, you know, or what have you.
Exactly. You know, it's getting so crazy, and I know we need to stop here, but I had somebody the other day, they wanted to be incorporated in case they ever personally got in a car accident and somebody sued them. I was like, what does that have to do with your company? I don't even get that. But I'm telling you,
assets in a trust. That's what you do.
I just feel so sorry for people because they're being just cajoled into these beliefs that it, like I said, when I repeat it back to them, they go, well, yeah, I guess that doesn't make sense. But anyway, oh my God, we could talk. I gotta have you back on again, Randi. I know I'm over. So before we leave, I know you've given us so much words of wisdom, but got a few sentences you want to leave us with today?
Do it with joy.
I love
Even when it's hard, even when the account is looking shaky, do it with joy, because with that, it'll fall into place.
I love that.
Joy.
Lauren, throw that in there. Do it with joy. I absolutely love that. Randi, I love you to death. You know I do. Thank you so much for coming on. Lauren, with that, let's get you back into the mix here. Was that not an interesting conversation? I feel so involved. I feel like we were all over the place, but from an outsider, what was that?
No, it was so good. I feel like sometimes, especially as entrepreneurs, you might even feel chaotic inside. So to actually hear you speak and for it to make sense, completely resonated. Like if you look at the chat, Randi, there are so many people that are
look at that.
so excited about this webinar. Like we have some first timers. This is my first time. This is such a great show. Like your spirit, your authenticity, all of it, transparency, all of that shines through. So thank you so much.
It'll work. Just be real with yourself.
And guys, look for Randi in the chat. You're here almost every single Wednesday.
Yeah, every Wednesday.
Pretty much
even when I'm driving.
There. Yeah, even when you're driving.
Hey, Emma. Yes, Emma is my girl. Yeah.
You and Emma, I always know you. If you and Emma aren't there, there's something wrong. I'm on the wrong day. You know, I know that you guys are gotta be there.
Call the police. Yeah, call the police.
My world's not right. Okay. Well, thank you so much again. I know we're talking next week, so that's in a couple weeks. I get some more Randi time together, so I'm excited about that. So, guys, if you know anybody new, I want to make sure you know Lauren puts her email address in the chat. She's going to be staying on a little bit longer than me to get any kind of information. If you need to reach me, Lauren, make sure every time you get an email to her, it gets to me. If you want to take one of my classes or a one-on-one, just get to Lauren. And also, like I said, the past shows. So with that, I want to thank all the frequent flyers, and thank you so much to those that were new to the show today for tuning into Small Biz Talk with your host, Lori Williams, special guest Randi, and always our wonderful Lauren, making sure everything logistically is running smooth and perfect. So Lauren's going to stay late. I will see you guys next week. Bye, Randi. Have a great week.
You
Bye,
too.
Lori. Bye, Randy. Thank you so much.
Bye, Lauren. Thanks for my technology.
Of course.
If you come down, just email me.
I will. I will for sure.
Okay. I can bye, girl.
Bye. All of you better make sure you get down there too. Her store is located in downtown LA. And so it's not too far, especially for those of you in the Los Angeles area or even the OC area as well. I did have her information in there. Let's go ahead and repopulate so that you can see that too. And then any questions or anything like that, please hop over to the chat. I do have my email address in there so that you can get in contact with Lori or even myself if needed. I also have links to Lori's upcoming webinars. There's Randy's information. Otherwise, we will see you next week. To those of you who are brand new, thank you so much for joining us. To those of you that are frequent flyers, we love to see you. Can't wait to see you again. We will see you next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. for another episode of Small Biz Talks, solutions for your small business. Take care, everyone. Bye.